Hey everyone, welcome to Industry Headlines. He's Kevin Kauffman. I'm Kevin Kauffman, and I just now looked to see, Kevin, what it said. It said Kevin Kauffman. Anyway, I'm Fred Weaver, and what have we got in store this week, man? What's going on? What's been happening in the real estate and mortgage world?
Yeah, man. So let's talk about the eviction moratorium. Some of them coming to an end, some not. Got some information there. Talk about the refi fee that caused a ruckus here recently from Fannie and Freddie, as well as a proposal from presidential candidate Joe Biden for a first-time homebuyer tax credit.
Awesome. All right, so let's jump in. It's happening all around the country. We certainly don't have time to not only research what's happening in every state, but also just to read all that, okay? But foreclosure moratoriums are coming to an end. So we're going to see a lot more in the news over the coming weeks and coming months, right? As lenders and homeowners and state leaders sort of grapple with what to do. Late last night, California took some action because their foreclosure moratorium was set to come to an end. So tell us a little bit about that, Kevin.
So just to be clear, real quick, this is eviction moratorium, not foreclosure moratorium in
Thank you.
California.
Sorry.
To talk about, because we said both words there. But so last night in California, they passed bill, I guess AB 3088, in case you want to go research that. But effectively, here's the rundown. All rent owed from March 1st, 2020 through August 31st, that's yesterday, 2020, becomes consumer debt. So it's no longer back like rent, it's consumer debt. Tenants are only required to pay 25% of the rent from September 1st through January 31st, 2021. The rest becomes consumer debt. No evictions until February 1st. No access to small claims to collect that debt until March 1st. Basically, this puts the onus of missed rents wholly on the landlords, the folks that own the homes and the apartments, et cetera, and that is not going to be grounds for eviction for basically a year's worth of rent. So as one of the people I follow put it on Twitter, we wonder why California is floating a 10-year exit tax to leave the state. Surely nobody in their right mind thought that this was a good idea.
I mean, here's the deal. No plan's perfect, right? You got a bad situation. Landlords have to pay their rent. The mortgage statement's still coming due every single month, even if there has been some forbearances and stuff like that offered. There's still some money due, right? And now California is giving the tenants the ability to pay very little, if any at all. It almost seems like 25% of their rent, putting landlords in a tough position. So I understand it. Tenants are in a tough position. But to just draft a bill that's pretty one-sided, that only helps one, I mean, it certainly doesn't promote home ownership and people wanting to move to the state of California or buying investment properties, does it?
Not at all. I mean, I just think about like your average. So a lot of people, like, I'm not saying that renters should not get some help and protection, but I
Correct.
don't think it's on the person who potentially owns a rental property to just take the burden for it, like, and pay that. Like, is the government is the state of California gonna step in and make those mortgage payments for them? Like, dude, that's insane. I can't even believe I said that. Like, reading through that, I'm dumbfounded by it. Like, I'm totally dumbfounded by it. State of California.
For
Ooh.
those watching live and in here at our Next Level Agents Facebook group, please post below, especially if you're in the state of California. I really want to hear some thoughts on, and I know there's arguments to both sides. Again, like I said, no plan's perfect, right? So
Right.
you're going to devise a plan at some level. Somebody's probably going to get more of the burden than they think's fair. But this one just seems incredibly one-sided unless I'm missing the other half of the story, which it's the state of California, so I don't think I am. So anyway, on to other news, Kevin. The refinance fee that was put out by Fannie and Freddie supposed to begin on September 1st. That's today if you're watching live with us, or yesterday if you're listening to our podcast. That particular refinance fee has now been pushed back to December 1st. Also, they were under a lot of pressure around this refinance fee, saying that lower income borrowers were being penalized more severely. So they rolled out basically an exemption, if you will, that if you're refinancing a loan with a balance below $125,000, that fee is no longer required. So it's been pushed out a couple months, and then there's been an exemption put in place. I don't know if you have any more thoughts there, but we can move on. Otherwise, there's your latest news. Last week we mentioned this may happen, and what do you know? It happened.
Maybe if the Treasury wasn't, fleecing those two companies of all their money, they wouldn't have to charge extra to try to raise money to get out of
We'll maybe talk
conservatorship.
about that next week. There's been a lot of news on that too, but we'll let that play out a little bit more.
All right, so let's talk about this. Biden proposes a $15,000 first-time homebuyer tax credit. So consumers, first-time homebuyers, would actually get a payment when they buy the home, not when they file their taxes. So it's not a credit. I mean, I guess it is a tax credit, but it's actually a payment at time of purchase. That's wow.
Yeah, it's cash in your pocket. Now, here's the deal. Like any policy proposal that's missing some details, okay? That's
Yeah.
not me being Democrat or Republican, left or right. I'm just saying, like any policy proposal, it's missing a lot of details, but it's also not unheard of, right? So if you go back to 2008, I believe President George W. Bush at the time, one of your favorites, I believe that, and you just like him for the baseball, let's be
I was
honest.
going to say, I
Rose
just wanted him to be the commissioner of Major League Baseball, but
Yeah,
let's not get
I
into
know.
politics.
I know. Anyway, but he signed something, right? And there was a credit that was then raised, I believe, the following year by Obama, right? President
Yeah,
Obama.
it was like
So
6,000. I remember I mean, obviously it's a while ago, but I remember that credit. Yeah.
yeah, and so these credits that Bush and Obama did at one time, they were like a percentage of your purchase price. So it's sort of like assumed, or people are thinking that that may be kind of the lines along where Biden's going as well. It may not just be, hey, go out and buy $100,000 condo, get 15 grand in your pocket. It may not quite kind of work just like that. It may be a percentage of the purchase price. So a lot to still learn here, but definitely real estate news right in the middle of a political campaign. So had to talk about it here today on Industry Headlines. I think it's pretty interesting, and it's kind of interesting to see something that was done in the early mid 2000s,
Yeah.
right? Coming back as well here, 2020, 2021.
Definitely interesting concept. Be curious. Obviously he's got to win the election, and then a whole lot of other things have to fall into place for that to happen. But it'd be interesting to see what kind of effects that has.
Yeah, cool stuff. Anyway, thanks for joining us for Industry Headlines. He's Kevin. I'm Fred. We'll see you back here next week. Thank you.
Bye.